The Seattle Kraken with another poor performance, this time to the Colorado Avalanche, and we're going to hear from a very unhappy Lane Lambert about it. And also, I'm going to tell you about the time that I once almost got into a fist fight with Vancouver Canucks head coach Adam Foote.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Zaiem Beg alongside Glenn Dreyfuss, and we are with Davy Jones Locker Room, where we do print coverage of the Seattle Torrent and the Seattle Kraken. And welcome to Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Glenn, the Kraken finished their homestand against the Colorado Avalanche last night. They had been reeling against bad teams or teams that had been struggling, St. Louis, Nashville. In comes Colorado, who is not struggling, and they're the best team in the league. And boy, howdy, did they look it.
You thought today was Friday the 13th. Well, apparently Friday the 13th is like Jewish holidays. They start at sundown the night before, because it was Friday the 13th for the Kraken as soon as the puck dropped. Here's a representation of both teams. The Colorado Avalanche were the cat. They're the top team in the league. They've outscored the opposition 5-on-5 by 84 goals. They've scored first in 41 of their 64 games. The Seattle Kraken, meanwhile, they were the ball of twine. You know what a cat does with a ball of twine? He plays with it. Then when he gets bored, he leaves it alone, and then he comes back and plays with it some more. The Avalanche were so good, they scored even when they didn't mean to. Nathan MacKinnon, he of the 43 goals, his 44th goal came when he was trying to pass the puck to Nazem Kadri and banked it off the boot of Adam Larson. That was the second goal for the Avs in the first period. The third one, Brock Nelson whiffs on 90% of the puck. The other 10% slides to Nick Waugh, who slam dunks it into the empty net, 3-0 Avalanche lead. And from there, the Avs basically coasted.
Yeah, it was. If you look at the shot counts, it might be deceptive because the Kraken, they played poorly in the first period, but then in the second period, they outshot Colorado 14-4, and then they only allowed 7 shots on goal to Colorado in the third period. And then the narrative was that they had played better in the last 40 minutes, which is probably true, but I think that that's exaggerated. And I really liked that Curtis Crabtree of Q13, he asked about this to both Chandler Stephenson, I believe, and definitely Lane Lambert. Was the last 40 minutes effort, was that because they really made a better effort, or how much of that was because of score effects, because Colorado was up by 3 goals at the end of the first period?
Well, and we know that's the case because remember, the Avs were the cat who got tired playing with the ball of twine. At one point, the Kraken had taken 18 of 22 shots in the game. But then when they had the temerity to score a shorthanded goal by Riker Evans, suddenly it was the Kraken. Well, they were the red meat, and the Avs had turned into tigers. They scored the last 2 goals of the game. They could turn it on whenever they wanted. And so while the score was 5-1, could have been 8-1, could have been 10-1. And if the Kraken had done more pushback, the Avs would have done more pushback. It wasn't a fair fight. If it was a fight, it would have been a TKO and it would have been stopped.
One thing about the shorthanded goal, the only goal that the Kraken scored, first is that this was somewhat predictable. I think we joked that the Kraken yesterday yesterday's show should take a bunch of penalties because the Avalanche, they gave up so many shorthanded goals. Their power play is at the bottom of the league. But I have been critical of Chandler Stephenson on this show, and I want to pull back a little bit. Here's why. I was talking to some of our media member friends, and a couple of people made the observation that there are some players who are trying harder than others right now on the Kraken, and not everybody is consistently putting out a full effort. And I was really thinking about this as this conversation was happening, and then I was driving home, and then last night, and then this morning, and it was thinking, what, Chandler Stephenson is definitely one of the people who gives an S. He is out there. He's playing with effort. He does get, I think, a little bit of undeserved criticism for lack of effort because he's such a smooth and efficient skater. So it looks like he's not trying because he's not laboring. He's just so fluid with his movements. And then also his demeanor is so even keeled and flat that you're like, well, this matches the profile of someone who I expect to be lazy and low effort. But that's not the case here. And we saw that on the shorthanded goal. Chandler Stephenson, he willed that goal. I mean, it was a really, really nice effort. I mean, he really gave nice effort to gain control of the puck, and then he made a really nice pass to Riker Evans, and that was the only goal of the game for Seattle. So while I'm still not going to say that he is a good player, I'm not there yet, but I do think that the effort that he shows has resulted in him playing better over the last 10 games or so. And maybe that's a function of other players on other teams who have checked out. When other people on the ice aren't giving effort, and you have players like Chandler Stephenson and Matty Beniers and other people who are, then that disparity shows up more. And I think you will see that more later in the season when players are checking out and they're golfing in their head or thinking about Cancun.
And after the game, you and I double teamed said Chandler Stephenson.
You guys were rolling before the Olympic break. You come out, you're struggling now. Are there things that you've noticed that you aren't doing as well as you were doing before the break? Or are you still trying to figure out what's going on?
Yeah, I think that, we know, just little hiccups. But teams are playing the best right now at the time of year. It's playoff hockey, so you see it. You take 5 minutes off, 10 minutes, whatever it is, period. It'll cost you at this time of the year. So, hopefully it's a bit of wake-up call.
Chandler, there was a time earlier this year when you described the low point as rock bottom. How does this time period feel emotionally compared to that one?
I mean, this time period, you're pushing for the playoffs, so you don't really have a whole lot of feeling sorry for yourself. I think when you're early on in the year, kind of halfway point, you're just trying to figure things out. But right now, I mean, we're trying to get in, so is everybody else. You see how tight it is, and I think that, there's no reason why we shouldn't be playing at our best and our hardest every night.
I asked that question the way I did because the last 2 years at this point in the season, when there has been a long losing streak, players, when asked, and what do you think the problem is? The answers were, I don't know. We haven't figured it out. We're searching for answers. We're looking for the solution. And I asked the question the way I did because I wanted to know, is this something where you don't know the answer and you're trying to figure it out? Or is it the answer, but it's something that needs to be internalized and implemented, which is a different thing. And his answer was like, we know what to do. We're just not doing it, essentially. Which is a better place for sure to be in right now. You would, because that's 2 steps. Last year, you have to figure out what's going on and figure out the solution, and then you have to implement the solution. Here, it sounds like they understand what their problems are. but implementing the solution is, I mean, that's still a very difficult thing, but at least they got the diagnosis part appears to still be intact.
If only we had another segment to discuss this further.
If only we did. Well, coming up next, we're going to do exactly that. Coming up on Locked On Kraken. Wow, that's really lucky. College basketball is non-stop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night from early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Look at odds around your team to see if they're in season. You can go safe. You can go bold. You can ride the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. You've done rooftops and you've chased every happy hour, but how about one that's literally above it all? After 4 p.m., the Space Needles Pint and a Pie takes happy hour sky high, and just for $35 per person, you get entry, your choice of a sweet or savory tip-top pie, and a pint of beer, wine, or a non-alcoholic drink. Whether you're pre-gaming for the Kraken, warming up for Climate Pledge, or just here for the views, this is your night on another level. Pint and a Pie. Limited time offer, 21 plus only, minimum to purchase. Tickets at spaceneedle.com. Join the Everydayer Club now with code MARCH and get your first month free. If you sign up before the NCAA tournament tips off this Thursday, you can compete in our men's and women's bracket pools on Discord. The winner in each will get $100 in Locked On merch. The rest of us can commiserate in the members-only chat as our brackets blow up. As a member of the club, you also get an ad-free version of this show. Again, it's all free for a month with code MARCH at lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer.
I don't want to poo-poo one of our sponsors, Zaiem, but the last 2 minutes of basketball games are nothing but stops. Okay? I've seen the last 7 seconds of an NBA game take 10 minutes. Love the sport, hate the ending.
Yeah, it's weird because if the game script is such that it just, you don't have to intentional foul, then the ending is amazing, right? Like every possession is like, but when you get into that intentional foul mode, it's just like, oh my, anyway. Basketball coming back. That's my feeling. I'm getting the vibes. So just throwing that out there. But things that make people happy is the return of the Supersonics. Things that make people unhappy, especially Lane Lambert, is how the Kraken played last night. When he was hired, we talked about how, as members of the media, we were a little disappointed in the hire, not in the sense that he's a good coach or a bad coach, but just I didn't think he was going to be anything other than Dave Haxtell. You called him Dave Haxtell 2.0. Is that we're going to have the short press conferences. He's not going to say anything. We're not going to learn anything about the team. We're not going to learn anything about how he feels about things. It's just this is nonsense kind of ritual that yields no real meaningful information, and we have to read between the lines. And was more true when Lane Lambert first got here, but as the season's worn on, he has dropped his guard a little bit, and when he's frustrated now, he just he doesn't even bother to hide it.
No, he doesn't hide his frustration. Hey, since you mentioned Dave Haxtell, your second favorite Kraken whipping boy, you know, the Avalanche did score a power play goal last night.
They did. They also gave up a power or a shorthanded goal. So net 0, I guess, which is pretty good. Also, the Kraken have the 31st penalty kill. So it was the 31st power play and the 31st penalty kill. You know, it's not scoring a power play goal against the Kraken isn't exactly playing on hard mode.
We're going to play sound of Lane Lambert in a second. You brought up in your analysis of what Chandler Stephenson said in the last segment, that he believes the Kraken know what to do, but they're not doing it. And the eternal question for this Kraken team is it because they know what to do and they're not doing it? Or are they not capable of doing it because of the talent disparity? And certainly the Avalanche have a talent disparity with just about every team in the league. So was it because the Kraken didn't get where they were supposed to be, or the Avs didn't allow them where they were supposed to be? Now, we're going to get to Lane Lambert now discussing this, and as you said, not hiding his frustration. These are several answers butted together, but I think they do a good job of representing how Lambert feels. And of course, I would think so because I'm the one who did the editing.
Just can't explain it. Unacceptable. But we got to wake up. We're doing things that are absolutely mind-boggling to me. It's got to stop. We have a system and a structure, and we just completely throw it down the drain. It's ridiculous. You got to stop making mistakes that are avoidable. I sound like a broken record, but we have to move forward and we have to be better.
So my question to you is, Zaiem, can the Kraken be better?
Yes. The reason why is, okay, against the Avalanche, sure, you accept that as a loss. Also, they're in the third jerseys, if you're superstitious. Those third jerseys, I don't like them. I can't read the numbers, which is my main complaint, but I'm going to project my complaint about not being able to read the numbers onto the quality of the team as they play in those third jerseys, because they're cursed. That aside, they didn't play well against St. Louis. They didn't play against Nashville. They didn't play against St. Louis again. The breakdowns on most of the problems that the Kraken have had recently have been defensive mental mislapses or miscues, where a player, there's just been mostly puck watching. And that is not a function of being forced into mistakes by the team. It would be one thing if the Avalanche were just generating all of these shots off the rush and, these crazy transition games. And you got Nathan MacKinnon, and he's going through the neutral zone. It's like, well, they had a solid defensive structure, but he's so fast and he breaks the structure. And then, and he fires off a pass to whoever. And it's like, there's no defending that when that happens. That's not really what the Kraken have been doing in terms of giving up, and not every team. In fact, only exactly one team has a Nathan MacKinnon on it. And it's not like they've been playing the Oilers or other teams with superstars on them. So, when it's the Blues and the Predators, and right now, most of the problems with Seattle are because of Seattle. And I think that is why Lane Lambert is so frustrated, because it's not that he doesn't see what the solution is. He understands what the solution is. He understands this is how to implement the solution. But there is only so much a coach can do when you're telling a player, okay, you need to be focused. And if you have a lapse, if you have just like a brief moment of distraction for half a second, then it costs us a goal. So be sure not to be distracted for half a second.
Well, when you have sufficient talent, you can sometimes, even on an off night, use that talent, even if you're the team that gets distracted for half a second. With the talent level on the Kraken, they can't afford even a half a second of distraction. But human nature is you're going to get distracted. And I think maybe not so much against the Avalanche, but against the Blues and the Senators and the Predators, not being laser focused causes problems. And as of this broadcast, it's caused the Kraken to be out of a playoff berth?
Oh, you mentioned the Senators game, which I just completely blocked out of my mind, and that's the worst of the ones. So my brain is protecting myself from its own trauma.
Now, wait
Well-
a second. I want to set up this next segment. Did you get off on the wrong foot with somebody?
Coming up next, speaking of brain trauma, I'm going to talk about the time that I once almost got into a fist fight, yes, really, with Vancouver Canucks head coach Adam Foote. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open when the pressure's on and you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that says it all. In the time I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Okay, let me set the stage here. So it's the late 1900s, and 18-year-old Zaiem is running around, and there are two things you need to know about 18-year-old me. The first is that I was very, very stupid at that age, like many 18-year-olds are, but I'm certainly part of that set. The second is I was kind of a jerk. Also, as many 18-year-olds are, but I was part of that set. The confluence of these two results in a situation where, well, let's talk about Adam Foote. So Adam Foote, at the time, he was a stay-at-home defenseman for the Colorado Avalanche. And even by 90s NHL standards, where the things that you could get away with in the NHL back then would blow your mind. You would think like sometimes when I talk about 90s hockey, people are like, you're exaggerating. It's like, I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, right? Even by 90s standards, Adam Foote was one of the meaner, tougher guys. He had a short fuse. His disposition, I think, would be described similar to Vince Dunn's. You know, it's just like, I mean, you can just, something will happen and just set him off. Also, a big guy. Like, he's a big, strong, hulking defenseman. You know, by NHL standards, he's just like a really strong player with a short fuse and a propensity to get angry at people. There's an autograph signing, and Adam Foote's there. So, oh, this is great. So I bring a hat and I have him sign the hat. And he signs it and I look at it and I see the signature, reminding you that when I say 18-year-old me was very stupid, I just want you to keep this in your mind. As I say to Adam Foote, by the way, I weigh 120 pounds at this point in my life.
Okay, and Adam Foote, 6'2", 220 pounds.
Okay, right. So he has 10 inches and 100 pounds on me. So, of course, I say to him, how do you get Adam or Foote out of this? I don't see anything that looks like an AF or an Adam or a Foote. I don't even see anything that looks like his number. It looked like he wrote in Arabic, and it sounds out the sound tata. And so I say, this looks like Arabic. This says tata. What, you can't write your own name?
Good line.
Yeah, well, he responded, got a reaction. He clenched his fist and he stood up, like he stood out of his chair and he's like ready to go. And the manager of the car dealership comes by and he holds Adam Foote back and I'm like, oh yeah, I am. Yeah, let's go, buddy. Yeah, I can take you. Again, he has 100 pounds on me, and also he is a professional athlete, and I'm a scrawny idiot 18-year-old. Okay, I was asked to leave the car dealership. I got to keep my hat. I wish I still had it. I lost it when I moved to Seattle 25 years ago.
You got to keep your head too.
I did get to keep my head. A couple years later, I'm doing radio for the Avalanche, and my car, I was driving an old beater car, and the driver's side quarter panel, I went into an accident. I had a brown car with a bright blue quarter panel. So it was a really distinctive car. There's no just mistaking that there was only one car like this. And I'm doing the radio thing and doing the media thing. And then after, I'm leaving and I accidentally cut off somebody in the parking lot, and I realize it's Adam Foote. And he's like honking, he's angry, and he's like shaking his fist at me. And I'm like, oh my God. So, okay, right. And then a couple weeks later, I'm pulling out of the parking lot and I cut off somebody, and I realize it's the same car and it's the same Adam Foote. And he's honking his horn, he's angry, and he's shaking his fist. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, if I don't, and it's night. I don't know if he recognized me as the kid from a couple of years ago. I don't even know if that was a memorable incident to him. And then a few days later, he cuts me off. It wasn't me this time. He cuts me off, and then he's honking the horn, and he's like shaking his fist. And I'm like, what? I didn't do it this time, buddy. So I've had 4 minor interactions with Adam Foote, and all 4 have resulted in him being angry with me. I don't think that I will ever get a chance to ask him candidly, like, do you remember me at all? Because that opportunity just doesn't seem like it'll come out. But if I ever do find myself at a mixer or something with Adam Foote, I would love to know. I would put a chance of him remembering this, and maybe like 10%, 5%, something pretty low, but not 0.
You might make a whole new definition for the word mixer. He might put you in a blender.
That's true. Yeah, we'd be having like a nice conversation. Be like, "Hey, yeah, I'm Zaiem." Like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you." I'm like, "Yeah, actually, we met. Like, yeah, back in 1996. Remember I said you couldn't write your own name?" And then like, "Oh yeah, you." And then
Okay,
that's it.
and this is relevant because the last game the Kraken played was against the Avalanche, and the next game they play is in Vancouver against the Canucks, and the Canucks are having a worse season than the Kraken are. So I don't think Adam Foote's probably in that great of a mood right about now.
That's a good point. So maybe I shouldn't make fun of him and his ability to write his name. I did go on eBay and I looked it was most of his signatures. He does put his number, and it's more legible, but apparently I didn't get the legible version. There were some that were a lot closer to the thought that I do remember. He didn't show me the respect by putting in the extra effort to make his signature the 15% more legible than it otherwise would be over his baseline. So really, who's the jerk now? It's still me. Also, I want to point out, I don't get into fights anymore. I don't get in arguments anymore like that. This is the only almost fight I've ever gotten into as an adult. So this is pretty out of character if you know me. I swear. But that was a long time ago, because now I'm much, much older.
But Adam, the next time the Canucks come to Climate Pledge Arena, stay out of Zaim's way.
I think I will stay out of his way. I think that's probably a better. But then, as we've shown, when I'm trying to stay out of his way, I'm just going to cut him off anyway somehow. I'm going to be like coming out of the bathroom. I'll just run into him and have like his nachos, and he'll go up in his face, and his suit will get all ruined. And then I'll be like, oh God, here we go again.
That's his fault for taking nachos into the men's room.
That's a good point. Well, let's see what happens this weekend when Adam Foote plays the Seattle Kraken, and we will be back next week to talk about that. So that does it for today's show. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Kraken so you get all the latest episodes. You can find us at David Jones LR on all social media platforms or at davidjoneslockerroom.com, where we do print coverage of the Seattle Torrent and the Seattle Kraken. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Kraken ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure this is one of your 2 daily listens. For Davy Jones Locker Room, I'm Zaiem Begg.
And I'm Glenn, going to be watching the Torrent tonight in Minnesota against the Frost, Dreyfuss.
And he's Glenn. That's a really long name. Man, your parents must have hated you.
Well, I tell you, when I try to do signatures, I cramp up.
Yeah, you should just shorten it to like 2 Arabic letters and do tha. And then